Hello students, in this session we will be talking about data querying through SQL and R. So students, I am assuming that in this session you have some hands-on knowledge on SQL, and we will be talking about some SQL commands that we can apply in R and retrieve the database. So let's have a look of the content, that what basically we are talking in this. On the assumption that you know SQL, first we will understand what are SQL statements in R, how to use select, from, where, is like, order by, limit, max, min, and SQL functions. Querying with the database with the DPLYR. And try to understand the concept of filters and select and between. So students, the first thing is how to connect R with SQL. Now, it is common for data analysts, scientists to connect R with SQL. There exist many different packages designed for different databases like PostgreSQL and MySQL. So we all know that there are different packages designed for different databases like MySQL and PostgreSQL. The DBI package, which is compatible with almost all the databases. Let's have a look on the example of how to connect R with SQL. So students, the first step is DB Connect creates a connection between your R session and an SQL database. So if I'm calling DB Connect, I'm creating a connection between R session and SQL database. Define the DBI driver object. For example, for MySQL database, you can build such a driver with RMySQL, which is equal to MySQL for R PostgreSQL function, and so on. So if the database is a remote database hosted on a server, you will also have to specify the following arguments in DB Connect. For example, DB name, host, port, user, and password. So basically, you all are, when you are dealing with database, you are having these knowledge of DB name, host, port, user, and password. Now, let's have a look of this code and understand that what's happening and how we are connecting to the MySQL database. You can see over here that with the library, you have loaded the package DBI. As you know that the DBI package, which is compatible with almost all the databases, is used to connect R with SQL. So you can see over here that library is loading DBI. Now, connect to the MySQL database.con. What we are doing, con is the variable, which is the connection variable. And there we have called the function dbconnect. Within brackets, I'm calling our MySQL function with DB name mydb. Host is the address. Port is the port number. User is George, and password is predictive hacks. So you can see that I have set the values for 5 variables where DB name is mydb, host, port, user, and password. Now, the problem is how to get the table names. So what I'm doing here, I'm calling the function dblistTables, and there I'm passing the connect variable, which is con. So con is my variable which I'm passing in the dblistTable function. And I store that result into a variable tables. Now, which means that I have stored the table names and into the variable table. How to display structure of tables? Now I write str and within brackets tables. So what happens? I get the output. I get the tables on the screen. So I again repeat that what we have done in this code to connect, we have loaded the DBI function, the DBI package within the library function. Then we have created a con variable where I'm connecting with the help of MySQL. I'm connecting MyDB, which is my database, and I am giving the username and password. And then I am storing the dblist table and passing the connection variable. Now, let's talk about how to import tables. Import the accounts table from MyDB. So you can see over here, I am writing db read table, which is a function, and within the brackets, I write con, comma, accounts. So here con is what? That is a connection, and accounts is what? That is the table. And I am calling that and storing that in the accounts variable. This is how you import all the tables and get the table name. So you can see here DB list table, and within brackets I pass the connection variable, and then I store the values into the tables. Import all titles, all tables. What I will do? I write con equals to connection. So you can see over here again I'm using lapply function because I want all tables. I want to import all tables. So I am applying lapply function. Within brackets, I pass tables, comma, db read table, which is what? Which is the function, and then connection is equal to con. So everything is stored in the tables. How to import data from queries? This is one more challenge. We can do it with db get query or by sending a query to the database with db send query. So my table is equal to db get query. db get query is what? That is my function. And within brackets, I write con, which is my link, and I pass the SQL command where it is select country, count star as TIMS from accounts where region is equal to EU. So students, you can see over here that after I'm creating a particular connection, I'm directly giving the query. So why I'm giving the query? Because I have to import data on the basis of the result of the query. So the concept over here you have to understand is that in the function, first variable which I'm passing is a connection, and the second variable itself is a complete query. And then the entire resultant table is stored in the variable my table, and my table is displayed on the screen. Now send query to the database. So you can see over here that if the query is sent to a database, how I will do it? db send query. Within brackets, I pass con, which is my connection. Then select country count as TIMS from accounts where region is equal to EU. And this entire is stored into a database. So it is going into a query variable. So you can see the variable name is my query, and again I have stored this in the variable my query. Now get the first two rows where db fetch. So if I'm using the function db fetch and within brackets I'm passing my query, comma n equals to 2. So now you can have a look very closely that the variable my query I created in the previous command, and that is my query has gone to a database. And now I'm calling the db fetch function to get the first two rows from my output. So n equals to 2. If I want to have all the rows, in that case, what I will do? In that case, I will write db fetch my query, comma, n equals to -1. So you can see over here that -1 is there, which is giving all the rows. Clear my query. So if I want to clear my query, I will do db clear result and within brackets my query. So students, for the first time when we do this, we find it little ambiguous or we find it typical. But once we know the structure of the functions which are commonly used and the parameters that we are passing, for example, my query and the number of rows, and likewise connection and the query, we find it very easy to run it and have the desired output on the screen. Now let's understand query. Our database has two tables. Who contains the number of new tuberculosis cases across each country, age group, year, and diagnosis method. Population is what? Population contains the number of people in each country for the year 1995 to 2013. So you can preview the data in the who table with this code. So what we are doing over here? We are calling the function table, and in that we are writing src equals to con, which means source equals to con, and then we are giving the source if the database connection profile who. So that means I'm giving the source when the database connection is who. The name of the table to preview. So let's have a look at what will come out of this query. So this is basically the output of who. Now you can see that the moment we get the output, we find it very difficult to understand and interpret. But trust me students, that when we see the output and we see the structure, we come to know that the data is in the form of records, where you can see country, ISO 2, ISO 3, year, and that way we have a lot of columns. And you can see over here that I'm getting the result very easily and as an output. So that is how we apply the query and then we get the results. Let's understand one method where we have to write SQL statement and execute it in RStudio. Now students, I'm assuming that you have a lot of knowledge of SQL and joins so that we can just understand the concept and run certain commands. So here you can see that we are using the select command, and in the select command I'm saying who.country, who.year, who.new SP M3544 and population.population. So students, you have to understand one thing, that in this select command I'm trying to join two tables. The first table is who and the second table is population. Now you see that there are three variables which are pulled from the who table and one variable is pulled from the population table. So I'm saying I'm making a join from who table and population table. From who, I write from who, left join. So I'm using the left join. And population on population.country equals to who.country. So where I'm trying to find out that wherever there is a match of population.country equals to who.country and population.year is equal to who.year, which means that when the year is same and the country is same, in that case, I have to join the records. So in simple words, I can say that when I'm matching the two particular tables, I'm putting a join with population. So I'm joining who with population, and the condition is that population.country has to be equal with who country and population year has to be equal to who year. So where who country in Brazil, Germany. So now you can see that I have given the list of countries with the help of in function. So I'm giving a list where who country is only Brazil and Germany, and who.year is greater than equal to 2000 and who.year is less than 2010. So you can see over here that when we are using this particular condition, we are trying to get the resultant out.